we started the discussion to have some Cop-T-bone gibbons sent back to Java.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, what's up? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast, y'all. I am really excited to be bringing you an interview from a really interesting and unique facility today. But before we get to that, let's do some housekeeping. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to Carrie Kirkpatrick, who is my latest patron. That's right. You can go to patreon.com/Rossifari if you would like to support the pod. So, that's exciting, and I'm so excited to have Carrie on board. Thank you so much for doing this, Carrie. You are awesome, and you've already been such a cool supporter in so many ways, and now you're a patron, and that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I'll also use this time to remind y'all to make sure that you hit the subscribe button on whatever podcast app you're listening to, or the add button or whatever. They keep coming up with different ones, but so that you get every episode delivered to your application right away when it comes out. And if your app, whatever you're using, allows you to leave a rating or a review, they really help, especially the 5-star ones. So yeah, if you could do that, that'd be cool. If not, no worries. Just be here and listening, and I will love you and appreciate you. Also, don't forget that if you want to see pictures from these adventures as well as daily zoo pics, you can go to @Rossifari on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and @RossifariPod on TikTok has some videos from my times visiting these places. You can also see those on Instagram, but hey, whatever, you do you. Follow on the socials as you will, and I appreciate it. Okay, enough. We need to talk about today's episode, y'all. So, we're back in our California series, and one of the coolest places that I got to visit in all of California was the Gibbon Conservation Center. This is such a cool, unique, small little facility that is dedicated to the conservation of gibbons, in case you couldn't tell by the name. And this is a facility that has been praised by Jane Goodall herself. Now, I want you to picture this. This interview was done sitting outside at a picnic table, completely surrounded by enclosures filled with gibbons. To say I was distracted would be the understatement of the century, and you'll understand why. It was a very worthwhile distraction every time. Lots of cute animals, lots of cool stuff. Now, y'all know, if you've been following along, that I got this super cool noise reducer thing that can clean up all of the background audio in my interviews. However, I sure as heck wasn't going to do that for this episode, because most of, if not all of the background noise that you hear is gibbon song. And spoiler alert for the episode, I knew that gibbons sang, but y'all, they sing. Like, they don't just make noise and communicate, they actually sing. I'm going to let my guest today explain this further, but there is music theory involved with gibbon song, just like there is in human song. And this musician had his mind blown learning about that. Also, for those of you who, have been following the adventures of Parker and her new baby, Parker is the gibbon at the Akron Zoo, and you heard all about that pregnancy and the birth and everything right here on this podcast and in a variety of episodes, both zoo news and interviews. Well, Parker lived at the Gibbon Conservation Center before heading out into a couple of different zoos, ending up at Akron and giving birth. So you'll get to hear what Parker was like early in life and all kinds of other cool stuff about the gibbons that are living at the facility. This is just a really fun, cool, kind of different episode, y'all, and I'm excited to share it with you. But first, a commercial. Today's episode is brought to you by Daydreamer Studios. Do you have stories and expertise to share with the world? Have you ever thought about starting your own podcasts? There's no better time to start than now with the help of a trusted production partner. Daydreamer Studios is a full-service production company that takes all the stress off your plate. You can focus on creating engaging content while they focus on recording, editing, audio engineering, hosting, and publishing on 22 platforms. Log into the advanced remote system with one click, and the Daydreamer team will be on the other end, ready for you to record everything you have to say. Owned and operated by Daydreamer Network, Daydreamer Studios continues on the company's mission to empower storytellers of all kinds by making podcasting accessible to all. For more information and current promotions, visit daydreamernetwork.com/studios. All right, y'all. So today you are going to be hearing from Gabi Skollar, who is the director of the Gibbon Conservation Center. Now, Gabi originally comes from Hungary and now lives at the GCC with her gibbons, not literally, in their enclosures or anything. But her journey to get here was really cool and kind of almost seemed like it might not have happened. So I'm excited to share her story, and I'm excited to show you how conservation organizations can work with zoos and other organizations out there to make an impact in a variety of ways. Some of the stuff that Gabi does is really cool and isn't just at the center. So I'm going to let her tell you all about that. I'm going to shut my yapper now, and it's time. Let's get to this interview. So without further ado, here is my interview with Gabi Skollar, director of the Gibbon Conservation Center. All right, so why don't we start off by you telling me who you are, where we are, and what you do here?
My name is Gabriella Skollar, and I'm the director of the Gibbon Conservation Center. We are in Santa Clarita, and we house 37 gibbons here. We have 5 different species, and we are actually sitting right near the pileated gibbons, but we also have eastern hulo gibbons, Javan gibbons, northern white-cheeked gibbons, and we have one female siamang.
Awesome. Yeah, this place is really, really, really cool. I'm really excited to be here. So it's a mostly outdoor facility.
Yes.
And it's loud.
Yes, they singing.
I love that. And we are in, so for those of you who don't know Santa Clarita, we're in like canyons.
Yes.
Driving into this area was really cool. It's a beautiful zoo, or beautiful, it's a beautiful area. And you literally go through the canyons of California and like hit a couple of dirt roads and have to follow the signs or you will get lost. And that brought us to here. And I'm stoked. And as you can hear, gibbons everywhere. So tell me a little bit about your history. What got you into gibbons, and what brought you from like childhood to sitting here? All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Check out the new nature podcast that everyone is talking about, Birds of a Feather Talk Together. If you like Radiolab or Planet Earth, you'll love Birds of a Feather Talk Together. Escape from the daily grind into the world of birds. 2 experts and 2 amateurs talk about a different species every week. Recently, we talked about the osprey, burrowing owls, roadrunners, pigeons, giant hummingbirds, house wrens, sandhill cranes, and so many more. We have a lot of fun every week. Learn more about the incredible birds around you and some that you didn't know existed. Birds of a Feather Talk Together. You're going to like these birds. I guarantee it.
So I'm originally from Hungary, and I always loved animals, and I had a bunch of pets, tortoises and cats and hamsters and rats and just, snail, everything,
Nice.
everything. And my parents kind of let me do that until I was responsible for them and taking care of them. And I was just enjoyed watching animals and just being outside, being in nature. And I was also interested in philosophy, and I just wanted to understand what makes us human, how we are different from animals. And I went to study biology, but I also was studying psychology and philosophy, just picking up random classes at the university. And every summer, I worked at the Budapest Zoo. It was the closest zoo where I was growing up. And I was working with the birds, but while I was working at the zoo, I met a primatologist who was studying gibbons. She was giving them a mirror and see how they react to their mirror reflection, if they saw any signs of self-recognition. And for a couple of years, every summer while I was working at the zoo, she was doing her research there. And I don't talk to her ever. I was like, just watching from a distance. But at the third year at the university, we had to pick a subject of what we're going to do our thesis research. And that's when I reached out to her and I called her and she gave me a job. She told me to go to the zoo and record a gibbon that was just going through his changes. He was changing his song from singing the female part to the male part. And I had to go to the zoo early morning and record him. Like many students, I like to sleep in. So I missed many times the song, or I got there and he just finished. So it wasn't like here, there was like gibbons always singing. So it was hard, but eventually I got the recordings. And after that, we started working together and visiting different zoos in Hungary and studying gibbons, gibbon tool use, self-recognition, object permanence, and just in general observing them and learning more about them. And she was the only primatologist in Hungary, so I just kind of stuck with gibbons. But as I was learning more and more about them, I just wanted to help them and I wanted to improve their condition in zoos, and I just wanted to continue working with them. She told me about this place. She told me there is a center in California with a bunch of gibbons. And I just kind of stuck in my head. And when I finished my thesis research, unfortunately, my professor passed away. I still wanted to continue working with gibbons. So I wrote to Alan Witnick, the center's founder, and asked him if I could come here to help take care of the gibbons. And I told him I have no money, but I'll work every day. I'll work very hard. And eventually he let me come. And
Wow.
I came with $200 and a backpack. And I worked every day for 6 months. And for you to spend like $20 a week, that was like in 2005. So you could get away with it. And it was just the happiest times of my life. I was just happy just to be here and hear them and take care of them and learn about them. But I came with a tourist visa, so I had to return back to Hungary. But we applied for a scholarship. I got funding. I was able to come back and continue my studies. And eventually we applied for a work visa. A couple of years later, applied for a green card, and now I'm a U.S. citizen. So, and I've been here since 2005.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. How long has the center been here?
The center's been here since the 1980s.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very cool.
But it was founded in 1976 by Alan Witnick. And first it was in Chatsworth. It was just more like a small zoo,
Okay.
perhaps with a few gibbons already. And because they were singing, there were some complaints already. Alan had to relocate, have to move out of that area. He came out here. There was nothing here.
No.
No
nothing.
one. But there was a house and there was enough land. So he decided to establish the center here. Kind of, it felt like the middle of nowhere, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. But it still feels like a little bit like out of space. Like, why here?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a beautiful area, but it's remote without being remote.
Yeah.
You know, I liked, as I was driving in, I couldn't help but notice that a lot of the stores in the town don't have like store names. They just have descriptions. So there was literally like gas station, food mart. I even saw one that just said comic books. And I was like, all right. Well, I guess when you're out here, there's only one option for each. So. But yeah, that's such a cool story. And I love that you just found and fell in love with this passion and are now living it. And I do mean living it because part of working here is you actually live here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
live on
tell me
site.
about that and tell me about the staff and how that works.
So I'm pretty much living on site since I first arrived. I visit back to Hungary yearly or sometimes even more often. But I can't imagine living anywhere else. I have a tiny house and I just like to be here. Just kind of always felt like I'm the guardian of the place. So
Right.
just enjoy being here. And we don't have to drive. Traffic can be very bad. So we have one staff that's somewhat live close by. So she drives here in the morning. She works part-time, Sophia. And then we have Alma and Jesse also living on site. And it just makes easier. And the gibbons need supervision. So if something's happened overnight, if there's a fire, any kind of emergency, it's just easier to just be on site. It's safer for them.
Yeah, makes sense. Plus, I mean, that's a perk. We all know what real estate costs out in this area. So like probably saving yourself a couple bucks in a good way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
save on gas too.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Gas prices out here blowing my mind. Yeah, but very cool. So let's talk about what kind of work you're doing to help gibbons. Are most species of gibbons endangered? And what kind of work's being done at the center?
Yeah, so there's 20 species of gibbons, and from the 20 species, 19 are endangered or critically endangered. One species, the Hainan gibbon, is maybe down to like 35 individuals.
Oh, geez.
The population is actually growing. It's a very small population, but a couple of years ago was like only 23 left. So I think they find more, and there's also newborn. They produce offspring.
Right.
So, but that's one of the rarest primates, the Hainan gibbon. And then there are other species that are endangered, critically endangered, like the northern white-cheeked gibbons, extinct in China, but they still find in Laos and Vietnam. And in the US, they have a species survival plan for them. So we collaborate with them, and we have 10 of them born at the center. And we've been housing that species for many years. So the oldest one we have is 39 years old, and he had 6 offspring here. And then we also have Gibbon gibbons. We were the first one in the U.S. that bred the species, and we have 12 of them born here. And we send pairs to Fort Wayne and Greensboro, also produce offspring. We started the discussion to have some Copti-born gibbons sent back to Java to try to release them back into the wild. It's a very new program, but a few individuals from England were already being successfully released. So that's something that we would like to do in the future.
Nice.
Because of the pandemic, it was, delayed. It's not really safe right now to send or import gibbons.
All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Hi, this is Kathy Hill from the Indian River Lagoon National Estuary Program. We're all about restoration projects in progress this season on One Lagoon, One Voice. Learn about the great strides the lagoon community is taking to restore and protect the Indian River Lagoon. Each week, we dive deep into discussions with scientists, resource managers, and nonprofit leaders to explore lagoon issues and solutions. From oyster reefs to clam restoration, algae blooms to muck, you'll learn all about the projects we're tackling to bring the Indian River Lagoon back to health. Click the link in the show notes to follow One Lagoon, One Voice, learn about the IRL Council, and explore our unique lagoon.
Of course, right. And quickly, before we go back into what you were saying,
Yes.
you mentioned an SSP before. So obviously this is not the type of facility that would be a like AZA accredited. This isn't a zoo.
Yes.
But y'all do partner with the AZA for the SSP and are like a facility in good standing that they're working with, which I think is just important for people to know.
Yes.
This isn't a backyard gibbon breeder. Obviously I wouldn't be here if it was, but on top of that, you all are working with the AZA, with the SSP, and specifically sent a gibbon to Akron, who my listeners know real well. So let's just pause for a second and talk about that. Then we'll get back into the other ones.
Right, sure.
But I want you to talk about Akron.
Yes. So we are not a zoo. We are a conservation center, and we are not accredited by the AZA. At some point, we would like to be an AZA-related facility, but we kind of have to work towards that. And but we do work with the SSP. I'm one of the Gibbon husbandry advisor for the Gibbon SSP. Our veterinarian, Dr. Howard Martin, is one of the veterinary advisor for the Gibbon SSP. And we also send animals to AZA zoos to be part of the program. We collaborate with them. And Parker, one of our northern white-cheeked gibbon, she was born here, and we sent her to Akron Zoo. We actually sent her first to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo because Akron Zoo was building a new exhibit, and they were not ready to receive the pair. The male came from another zoo. I don't remember which one. So, but I took care of Parker here at the center. I remember her as a young female. And we are so excited when she had a baby.
Yes, that is so cool. And my listeners have been there for a lot of that story. We've done a couple episodes from there now touching on that. So yeah, I love how circular it all is. That's really cool.
And we keep in touch, now that our social media, we follow the zoo and we see the updates, and we were excited since they were started posting the ultrasound pictures. So
yeah, if you remind me, I'll show you. I have a couple of good pics from when I was there last week or 2 weeks ago now. But yeah, very cool. All right, so anyway, going back into the conservation thing, I love to get the animal, the personal stuff.
Right, yeah. And we have other gibbons, like Parker has an older brother at Virginia, and then another one in Nashville who also has an offspring. So it's always exciting to see the family is growing.
Definitely. Very cool.
So that's one of our goal here. To participate in captive breeding programs. And it's not always SSP, because for not all species there are SSPs. There are endangered species that they don't have a big enough number in the U.S. to able to have an SSP for them. So for pileated and Javan gibbons, we participate in a global captive breeding program, and we have many of them born here as well. And but that's just one side of what we do here. I mentioned that I'm the husbandry advisor. So anything we learn about here as we take care of the gibbons, whenever we do medical checkups, we try to share that with others. If there is a AZA conference or there are a couple of gibbon husbandry conference, we attend those and we give lectures, poster presentations. Also went to a couple of workshops in Asia as well about rehabilitation and release. And so these are very important to kind of come together. It's a small community of people working with gibbons, some from a zoo field, some in a field. Unfortunately, the last Gibbon husbandry conference was canceled, and there was a conference that was supposed to be in Vietnam, and we're hoping to bring together people from the field and also from the zoological community to share what we know about gibbons. But I often got emails from seriously all over the world, not even just from the US, that they have questions about diet, introducing to gibbons, or mother rejecting the baby. And if I can, I try to help. So I've been taking care of gibbons in the past 16, almost 17 years. So I learned something, and I want to help other gibbons, not just these guys here.
Right. That's really cool. I love that. Small, passionate communities can get a heck of a lot done.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And so we also open to the public for guided tours. So we educate the people. Sometimes we also go to schools and give a talk. But most of the time we try to bring the kids here and do a field trip. And we feel like educating the general public is also very important. And at our center, we feel it's important to just instead of having them walk around on their own, just do a guided tour. And there are also schools that are not able to afford to visit. So we have a scholarship and we try to cover the cost of the bus and we do a free tour.
Nice.
We have volunteer programs and internships. Students that want to become primatologists or anthropologists, they start volunteering for us. And if they volunteer for like 100 hours and they want to learn how to care for the gibbons, we start training them. And again, it can build their resume. And whenever we have an openings, we usually hire someone that's already been volunteering for us for a while. So it feels a little bit like a family, with our staff and volunteers. We are also a nonprofit organization, so we have board of directors that also help with our mission, with events, grant writings, everything.
Very cool. Yeah, it's wonderful here. One of the things that I noticed is, I've gone to a lot of conservation centers that aren't open like all the time, like aren't a zoo, like you said. They might do, tours or whatever. I think y'all have the best signage of any conservation organization I've been to. Every habitat has the type of gibbon, the IUCN Red List status, approximate number remaining in the wild, each individual name. A lot of them have birth dates and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. Tell me about how that decision was made and what it was like, to get all of that done.
I think we just... At first, we were not open to the public, and we had college students started coming more often. And when we decided to open to the general public and do the guided tour on the weekends, there's always few people that just, we find they're not paying really attention. They're looking at the gibbons and then they're checking some of the signs. So we wanted to improve the signage we had. And we were able to get some funding for it from the city of Santa Clarita and from other foundations. So and we consulted with people to help, design it. And but we get everything done with kind of very low cost. So we involve volunteers and artists and whoever willing to assist us to make the signs. And we're actually planning to do some more improvements. So create some more signs.
Right. No, that's really cool. But I love even just like they all have Valentine's hearts up right now with their names on them, which is just adorable and is a nice way to actually connect with the animals. Like I'm sitting here looking at Tuck and Izzy and Boo and Howard, and I know that because I can read it, and then they're right there, and it's kind of amazing. And that's also why I keep not looking at you during this interview. Sorry.
Oh, it's so easy to get distracted. I'm also seeing Anastasia and Nate are playing together. So we have the gibbons all around us, and they are all playing or doing something. And so when we do a tour, of course, it's educational, but we feel people will connect with the gibbons if they learn about the individuals. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you go to the zoo, you walk around, there's so much to see. You might read some signs, but you might not know about each individual. Who are they? And I think that we try to do here, since it's a small facility, we can, that as we talk about each species, we introduce the visitors to those gibbons and tell them a little bit of their story, their individual personalities, and then they can read their names. They see when people connect just with that, his birthday is the same day as mine.
Right, yeah.
It just, or like, Howard is like... I don't know. We had someone on the tours named Howard, and he really liked it. So it happens, and I think it's important that they meet these individuals because they are so different, and it's they can be very funny, and people want to learn about who's Howard, and how it took like.
And that's actually that's a big part of what I do on the pod, and we're going to get there. I'm going to have you talk me through some of the gibbons here so my listeners can connect with them.
Yes.
And we will get to that. But I think even just little things like Shelby over there was born in 1983. It's one thing to understand that gibbons can live a long life. It's another thing to see a gibbon and see a sign that says, "Yo, I was born in 1983." It's one thing to read, the average lifespan of a gibbon is whatever. It's another thing to see a, almost 40-year-old gibbon and be like, "Oh,
right.
All right, cool."
But unfortunately, Shelby passed away, and that's something. It's not funny.
It's not funny, but that was
funny.
just really bad timing.
But no, it's so we have a hard time taking their signs off.
Okay, that actually makes sense.
We took care of Shelby here for 20-something years.
Right.
And especially towards the end of his life, I spent sometimes hours with him just to care for him, and I just couldn't do it yet. So it stays there for a while, and we have it takes a couple months before we take down their signs.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. That's a beautiful thing, honestly.
Yeah. Their average lifespan is about 40 years.
Okay.
But sometimes they live longer. Shelby has a lot of issues. He had diabetes and very severe arthritis, and so that was kind of hard to care for him. The other things here that we try to be as hands-off with the gibbons as possible, and we started doing some basic behavior training with certain individuals to make a routine checkup less stressful. And when we find out that Shelby had diabetes, we started working with him. But he was an individual that didn't want to be touched. It was very stressful for him to do any kind of training because he liked the food reward, but he's like, "Don't touch me. Just be
right.
off. Just give me a respect and a distance." So he would love and enjoy his food. He just didn't want to be touched. So it was make it hard to do any medical checkup on him or check his, glucose level. So we had to check his urine with sticks to check for glucose. And towards the end of his life, he eventually wanted to be scratched. He wanted his back groomed and scratched, and that's when we're able to give him insulin.
Wow.
So, but he was still very scared of the needle. So when you care for wild animals, you kind of have to adjust the care for each individual.
All right, we'll be back after this quick break.
Animals are taking center stage in research, not just as objects for human benefit, but as beings with rich histories and geographies. Join me, Claudia Herzenfelder, on the Animal Turn podcast as I interview leading scholars about emerging ideas and concepts in animal studies. Each season delves into a unique theme, revealing how concepts intertwine or diverge, and this kind of discussion encourages a deeper reflection about animals and their broader contexts. So far, the podcast has considered themes as wide-ranging as law, politics, sound, the urban, and biosecurity. If you are interested in animals and unpacking the ways we know them, find the Animal Turn podcast wherever you listen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that it's important. That's one, like I said, I try to do it on the pod, is to get the individual stories out there.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every time I talk to a keeper that's worked with a lot of animals, they always have at least one story that's like, okay, so you know how animal X does this? Well, this is Bob, and Bob is that animal and absolutely does not do that. And it just, it's important. I think it's so easy to get caught up reading and studying and learning, which is super important.
Mm-hmm.
But then you need to remember to learn from the individuals as well. Just like, with humans and stuff.
Yeah.
We all have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so, thanks for sharing about Shelby. I'm sorry it got there in such an awkward way, but that's a beautiful story. I do love that. Why don't you tell me about some of the gibbons that are here right now?
Yeah. So, well, I have favorites. Don't tell other ones.
Wait a minute. They all just started looking over here curiously.
They're watching. So, I mean, just because we are here with the pileated gibbons, so Boo is just the troublemaker. So she's like a middle child. She acts like a middle child. And then Howard is her younger brother. And he's those typical annoying little brother that always wants whatever she's eating or playing with. It's just right away she goes on the ground and pick up just a chunk of dirt. Then he wants that chunk of dirt. Or she drops some food on the ground. Then he has to check it out. So they have a very funny relationship that when we tell people about that, it's like, oh, this is like just like my little brother. So but Boo, so when I'm cleaning, this guy is very gentle, so we can enter their enclosure for cleaning. And many of the gibbons are very mischievous, so they like to pull my hair. And she will pull my hair, but she would just pull one by one.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cute. Oh yeah, they are just, like you said, I keep getting distracted. I'm like, I have a question in my head, and then they're gibbons being gibbons. Yeah. Very cool. I love that relationship. That's awesome. And so those are some of the pileated. So tell me about some of the others.
Yeah. So we have Pepper. She's a very special female. She's actually Parker's younger sister.
Okay.
And there's a female, Ricky. She came from Australia, and she had 6 offspring with Walk. They lived together for about 23 years. And always the white-cheeked gibbons are the one that just kind of start the morning song. And because Ricky was here for such a long time, so she will be the one that starts. And then other females would wait for her and join in. And the Walk, her partner, will also wait for her to get out of the bed, pee, and just get ready to sing. But when Ricky developed cancer and eventually passed away, her daughters were the one that kind of took over leading the song. And when Parker moved away, we sent her to another zoo. Pepper was just a young gibbon, just a juvenile. She took over leading the song.
Oh, wow.
So it was just a very special thing to see how she just stepped in and started singing. And she's still our lead singer. So about 90% of the time, either her or her family together starts the song. And she's funny. If somebody else wants to start, she ignores them. So, gibbons, most species will sing a duet. And here, because there's so many gibbons together, they have their routine as well. So they coordinate the song with each other as well. So Pepper will lead the female part, and then the 2 female next door will join in with her. And if they don't join in time, she would repeat it and then try again.
Okay.
So it's just kind of interesting to hear that routine. And then the males will answer the female part, but they also pay attention to each other because they try not to overlap. They want to hear where the other one is. So they have their order who's joining in first and answering the female part. And then we only have one female siamang, Marlo. She's a very lazy singer. So if she's willing to join in, she just takes it over. And then she just rocks the whole place. She's so cool. But then other times she's like, okay, everybody's singing. I'm just going to eat my green beans and just going to keep eating. So
I didn't realize that Gibbon song was so complex. Can you talk more about it? What they're using it for, and the different tones or whatever? I'm shocked. I'm a musician, so this is big for me.
Yes. So each species have their own species-specific song, and the song is inherited. So they don't learn the different parts. And they usually start developing the song at a young age. Gibbons live in nuclear family groups, so the the parents and the dependent offspring. And then the young ones, sometimes at a couple months old, sometimes even earlier, sometimes later, they start joining in with the parent song. And they tend to sing the female part. Once the male is around 6.5, 7 years old, they switch and they become less and less enthusiastic singing the female part, and they start singing the male part. But they don't just do it right away. It's like they start vocalizing, making these weird vocalizations, high pitch, weird sounds, and then they practice, and eventually will start to sound like the adult male.
That's really cool.
And then we have like Howard, he's just not into singing. So I think he would just at some point will start practicing the male part, but he's not joining in with the female. And then we have with the Javan Gibbons, we have young males that will do and sing along with their mother, sing the female part, and other ones who just also not into singing. So there are individual differences. And so the most species sing a duet. There's only 2 species that only sing solo songs. The songs serve to mark their territory, to tell their neighbors this is their home. And it also help them strengthen the pair bond. Definitely for the ones singing a duet. They have to practice. They have to pay attention to each other. So like with a pileated duet, the male joins in towards the middle of the female part. Okay. So he has to listen and pay attention. Otherwise, it's going to be late.
Oh, that's so cool. So, okay. So like I mentioned, I am a musician. I am a professional drummer. That's why I'm out here doing the thing. And I do a lot of music, like arranging and stuff. And I always feel like music, I mean, it gets talked about a lot, but music is a language in its own right. But in this case, music is literally a language, and they have to learn to communicate together and work and practice together, and that is blowing my mind. I am so excited about that. That's just so cool.
Yeah, I hope you're gonna get to hear it, but we do have recordings that we can also share. So, and when you first hear it, it feels like all random, but it actually follows very rigid rules. But then, anything, that follow rigid rules, there are also exemptions. So there are, like usually the male sing the male part, female the female part, but there are females that sometimes sing the male part, or the male singing the male song, and then something disturbs him, and then he's just get out of his thing and he starts singing the female part.
Oh, wow.
So they have these little interesting things that you can't really repeat it, but it just happens.
That's
you
so
can pay attention to it.
I mean, that's literally, not to anthropomorphize, but that's literally what happens on stage. Sometimes you get distracted and you sing the wrong part, or sometimes you'll have somebody like me who's going to improvise certain stuff and change it up every night, and other times people who always sing the same thing. And yeah, you're right. There are even times that people don't feel like singing, and they don't, or they only do it halfway. Like everything that you just said, I can relate to being on stage, which is the coolest thing ever. Like, yeah, everything you're talking about, I'm like, yeah, no, I've been in that situation. Oh yeah, no, I know a singer who's like that. Oh yeah.
And we have gibbons that are very confident, like Pepper. She just know her rule and she just do it. But we had Lucia when she first moved out of her family, and it was time to sing. She just went in her sleeping box and she hid, I'm not doing this. And it took for about 2 weeks that she would start joining in. And every time she's just sitting and waiting for Pepper to start. And she might even look for her. And sometimes she's got busy with something else and she miss when she's supposed to start, and she either start late or she just skip. It's very funny to see her.
Wow, I am beyond fascinated. We always think of music as, I know there's music and song in the animal kingdom, obviously, but like you think of music in terms of music theory and like the right way to structure a song and everything as a very human thing. And to hear that gibbons have those rules is literally just blowing my mind. That is one of the coolest things I have ever heard on this podcast. That is really
I
awesome.
hope you hear them, but also see them sing, because the another interesting thing is that they sing with their whole body.
Okay.
So they just have a very specific posture while they do that. So that's also very cool.
That's incredible. This is incredible. Awesome. So tell me about some of the other individuals here that stand out.
Okay. So my favorite gibbon is Kima. And the reason why he's my favorite, Kima had a female that was an orphan. She was a rescued female. She came from the Yangon Zoo from Myanmar. And she had 3 offspring. And she was like a female that got stressed out very easily. Mm-hmm. And then she started to be not so good of a mother. She also had some issues with breastfeeding. The babies had teeth, and she just couldn't deal with it eventually.
Gotcha.
But we would work with her. We did some, a little bit of training. We tried to put things on her nipples to make it less painful. And each time we thought, this time she's going to do it. She's better. She's better at it. She can manage it. And we seriously would tiptoe around her enclosure, just not to stress her out. But eventually, unfortunately, she would reject all her babies. And so Kima was my first baby that I had to hand raise. And I seriously don't even know how to put a diaper on him. I don't have kids. So I actually had a volunteer that had younger siblings. And he showed me how to put a diaper on
amazing.
That baby. And that was just during the period while they were inside, we taking care of them. And so once he got older, he was growing up with his younger brothers, and eventually we introduced the middle one back to the mother. And then the oldest and the younger brother were growing up together with a female. They just kind of took care of them, kind of fostering them. And but Kimo was my first one, and I just get very attached to him. And he's a very unpredictable gibbon. He's incredibly smart. He's super curious. He steals glasses all the time. He just causes trouble always. Especially with new volunteers. They're not as quick. They don't pay attention. He will reach out super quickly, steal their glasses, and then you can stay. He stole my glasses also many times. I have a couple pairs just to be ready for that. He likes to play with my phone. He would scroll through pictures.
Oh, wow.
He liked toddler applications, and he would play with them. But he kind of have a short attention span. So it's like 10, 15 seconds. He's very into it, playing, and then he just wants to just throw it away. So he just lose interest. And I don't know. It's just he's temperamental. He's very sensitive, but he's also very smart. And I just have a very close bond with him. But since he's now he's an adult now. We introduce him to adult female. We are pretty hands off. So, but when I work with him, when I take care of him, sometimes I still scratch his back a little bit. Gibbons can be very jealous. So the female Betty, she's also a very funny female. She would just smack him and tell him, just don't interact with humans. So, but explain it why we want to kind of hands off with the gibbons, because it can sometimes disturb their pair bond. So they can get very jealous. And I think the female knows that he likes me. He wants to interact with me. So she's kind of try to keep him away. And I don't want to upset them. So try to be as hands off as possible. To clean their enclosure, we have to shift them. He's so hard to shift. So that's again, it's like a routine thing in zoo world that you shift animals. And their gibbons are so easy. It's like always easy. And then there's like one or two that is just kind of make your life more difficult, and they will be super stubborn. And but I think it's very funny. It's just part of our life.
That's hilarious. Yeah, as you were coming up in the world, and even once you found out about this place and everything, did you ever think that someday you would be a foster mother and a lactation consultant for gibbons?
No, I didn't know. As a child, I was raising baby birds and kittens and squirrels and who knows what, just random wildlife. So
yeah, wow, this place that's just really special. Are there any other ones that you wanted to give a shout out to? Any of the other gibbons that you want to tell us about?
It's like, so in gibbons between couples or within the family, it's usually the adult female that's more dominant. They're just a little bit more bossier, and it doesn't matter on their size or strength. It's like just eventually they just gonna be the boss. So we have a funny pair here. Alan, who was born at the center, we named him from our founder because he was just born after our founder passed away. And Chantal, she's a very petite female. She was rescued from the wildlife trade as well. And when we first introduced them, he knew he's bigger, he was stronger, and he tried to bully her. But just the way she eventually stood up for herself and just kind of taught him that she's the boss.
Nice.
He respects her, so it's kind of fun. But just the relationship, yes, the female is more bossy, but they just so close. If their bond is strong, they're so emotional. So they hold hands, they hug, at night they hold each other, but they can be very temperamental. So especially the huloks, like if they have an argument over the last meal, their grains, then they're gonna go sleep in 2 different sleeping boxes. And it just it's not just individual differences. You will see differences also between species, that you have the pileated gibbons that are a little bit slower, a little bit shy, but they can get very intense. Like if Howard crying about something, you just don't want to be near mom. She's so protective. So they can be very intense as well. And then the Gibbon gibbons, so grubby and grumpy. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Quick question about just for people that see gibbons, at zoos and stuff. Gibbons are one of those species where I feel like people from time to time feel like they look mad or sad or angry, like they shouldn't be in a zoo. But can you talk a little bit about like just how to read a gibbon? Because a lot of times that's just not the case, Right.
So sometimes the natural facial expression, it looks like they are sad. Not for all the individuals, but for certain ones.
Let's just call it what it is. They have resting bitch face. Yeah. I do too. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, but I think it's also true for other animals. Just because the animal is not actually playing at that point, he's like just resting and looking or whatever. They do that in a wild as well. That doesn't mean they are upset. If there are other behaviors, like if a gibbon give a wide open mouth, it's it could be just yawning, but then the lips and the teeth are different, or that's when they are aggressive and they show their big teeth. But it's usually a short facial expression. They're not gonna keep holding it wide open, or they might chirping, like when we walk by Pierre. Pierre is somewhat imprinted to people. When you interact with gibbons in a young age, they can become imprinted, and they're going to be a little bit confused about being a gibbon. And when they see humans, they think you are in their territory or near their territory, and then they will vocalize. if you would enter or go near Pierre's enclosure, he would turn aggressive. When we just walked by, he was chirping a little bit. Some people think he loves them. Like, he's chirping because he's excited to see those people.
It was a very cute noise. It really was.
It's a very cute noise. And when we tell people, he's actually a little bit concerned. And he's alerting his family that there are people here. And the family, doesn't really mind the people. So that's another reason we do guided tours here, because if we see a gibbon is not happy or scared or anxious, let's just keep going.
Right.
So that another one, Umin, another of my favorite, he also gets concerned about men. And I just look at his face and I see his low lips and I see his posture and, he's a little bit scared of you. Just don't look at him. Don't stare at him. And because we've been working with gibbons and we know their behavior, but the general public, they just see a cute animal making cute little sounds or doing just resting, and he's just perfectly fine, but doesn't have a big smile on his face, or is not playing or eating at that point. So you'd have to go and see them in an open mind, and if you're not sure, you just ask questions. So.
Yeah. Experts are experts for a reason.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then is there anything else that you wanted to have on this podcast?
We are always open for more volunteers. So if people have extra time, we have a couple big projects going on right now. We are rebuilding one of our enclosure for a family group. So we're doubling the size, and we'll always need extra hands for that. And then we're building a complete new enclosure for Pepper and Nate. And that's kind of going to be like a experimental enclosure for our small staff. So it's going to be 18 feet tall compared to some of our other ones. I think we have 16, 14 feet tall enclosures. So we're building that. And then there's another enclosure that we're going to add the extension. So we are on 5 acres right now. In the past 2 years, we were raising funds to try to relocate to another site. One of the main reasons we are looking to move is to be in a more temperate climate. Santa Clarita, we are in a desert.
Yeah.
It can get hot in the summer. So we're trying to bring the gibbons somewhere closer to the coast where it'll be more humid and not as extreme heat, not as cold in the winter. So, but that didn't work out. We raised funds. We almost purchased the site in San Luis Obispo County, but didn't work out. So we ended up purchasing this site that we're leasing.
Oh, nice.
So now we own it, which is great, but we still want to move somewhere to a bigger site and a better site. But while we are staying here, we're going to continue improving the enclosures for the gibbons and try to enlarge them. We might have to go height instead of changing the footprint. But we have a few areas that we can double. So we are working on that. And more visitors will be great on the weekends. So, but people have to make reservations, and we follow the COVID safety rules. Just everybody have to wear masks to just keep the gibbons safe.
Right, of course. And for people that aren't local, where can people go make donations? Anything they can do to help from a distance?
Yes, of course. So we are active on social media. We post pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and people can make a donation through the social media sites and also through our website. We also have a SoundCloud account that people can listen the different gibbon vocalizations.
Oh, that's really cool.
So, and they can send email, they can sign up for our newsletter. We also produced a documentary about the center. It's called The Center, Gibbons and Guardians. And that's available now for on Amazon and many other sites that people can learn about the center and its history.
Nice. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show. But there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story. Hit me.
Okay, so that's about Alan.
All right.
So he was just a baby, and he was the first offspring of Pooji and Arthur. And usually the newborn is carried by the mother. So first 2-3 months, it's like 24/7 on the mom. Arthur was a first-time dad, and he decided he's going to have to give a try and stole the baby from the mom. And it was super cute to have the baby on the dad. It was just so sweet until the baby started to cry and wanted to nurse.
Right.
And he did not want to hold the baby anymore. And he tried to take it off. The baby was clinging to his fur and would not let go. And he was trying and couldn't get it off. So we entered the enclosure. We separated Pooji in a shift because she can be dangerous, and we don't want to be in the middle of a fight between the two. So we shifted Pooji, and we entered the enclosure with Arthur, and we hold my sweater under him in case he drops the baby, because they are so tiny. Alan was only a couple weeks old.
Right.
If they fall, they're gonna hit their head. So we need to catch the baby. And I'm standing under Arthur, holding my sweater and almost holding it. And he got all excited. He pooped, and I know it's coming. And the poop ended up sliding down my face. There was no mask during that time. It slid over my nose, my lips, and I just kept my mouth shut. And I didn't move because I didn't want to miss the baby.
Right.
So that was the grossest thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, so what can I do? So eventually he managed to take the baby and just hang it on a fence. And then we left, washed my face, and we let Pooji back. And Arthur never again tried to steal a baby from mom.
Not surprising.
And I also got a special hat. You know those rain hats? So it repels the water, but it also works as a sun hat. And it also works to repel any poop
It's a
that
poop
could
hat.
end up on my head. So,
That's awesome. All right. I like the poop hat. That's good. That's really good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
Well, that was fun and awesome. Gabi is just so chill. Also, I have to tell y'all, when I first got to California and sent out my, "Hi, I'm in California, let me come to your facility and interview people," emails, Gabi was the first person who responded, and so many places ask so many questions. And like, I get it. No worries. We all got to make sure that the people we talk to are super legit. But Gabi was just like, "Yeah, cool. When can you come?" And I was like, I love this so much. It really helped me feel like California was going to turn out to be great. And it was. So that's exciting. You can check out gibbonscenter.org, or on social media, head to @Gibbon Conservation Center to find all the cool stuff about the gibbons at the GCC. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to Jacob Newman, who is a fan and regular listener. When I asked for facilities in California, he told me to check out the Gibbon Conservation Center, and I got to tell y'all, I had not heard of it until he recommended it, and boy, am I glad he did. So thank you, Jacob. I super duper appreciate the suggestion. This one was awesome, and I owe that entirely to you. Also want to say thanks to Laura Schenk, my Red Panda level patron, and to all my patrons, but we talked about that at the beginning of the show. So the last thing I'm going to say is just a quick reminder, friends, that the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Vesley Gross. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari, or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.